everyone, welcome to day 8 of our Bible in a Year readings. Today we venture through Genesis 25 and 1 Chronicles 1. And let me tell you, some of the sections in this reading are the kind that make your head spin. This one was the son of that one, and that one bore the other one. It can be overwhelming and really confusing. And why do we need to know a bunch of names that we can barely pronounce anyway? Well, in a simple answer, it's history. Now, I was never a big fan of history, but this is our history, the history of our biblical ancestors. And some of these names that we have to stumble through in the chapters throughout the scripture are the direct line that would eventually bring about our Messiah. The entire Bible, Old and New Testament, is relevant to map out history and lineage. In the beginning of chapter 25 in Genesis, we see that after Sarah dies, Abraham remarries and has 6 more sons with his new wife Keturah. If you read the passage where all the names of his sons are listed, one of them stood out to me, Midian, like the Midianites. Okay, now I've heard that name somewhere else in the scriptures. Just like Abraham has Isaac and Isaac had Jacob, and these are the forefathers of our faith, remember that Isaac had a brother named Ishmael that God also promised to make into a great nation. Many of these names that we pass over while reading turn out to be the start of many great nations, and it gives us a deeper understanding where the roots of these nations stem from, and even why there's so much animosity at times with the people of Israel. Speaking of Isaac and Ishmael, God goes against usual tradition, and he decides to bless Isaac with the covenant promise, even though Ishmael was technically the firstborn of Abraham. We know that this is because God promised descendants through the child of Abraham and Sarah, and Ishmael was born out of impatience and disobedience. But even so, this was backwards according to the tradition that was in place. We see this again later on in our Genesis reading, when Jacob and Esau are in their mother's womb. The Lord tells Rebekah that she will have 2 sons, and that the younger will be blessed rather than the older. If you continue reading on, you'll see a lot of familial patterns in there. Remember, Isaac is Abraham's son, and Jacob is a product of the same family line. So we'll see things like favoritism and deceit and other patterns for generations. Think of how Jacob favored Joseph, and it caused bitterness in that family too. This is why it's so important to be aware of family patterns and to deal with them head on. We have the power and authority to break those cycles and to give a better outcome to future generations that come from us. I pray that this gives you a deeper revelation of some of these passages that seem boring or difficult on the surface, or that it's eye-opening to see why there's tension between nations and people groups, even today, or how we can break family cycles, even if it's been happening for generations and generations. Remember, we fight not against flesh and blood, but against the powers and principalities at work in the spiritual realms. We'll see you tomorrow for our next reading. Have a blessed day.